What up, everybody? This is Tyler, aka Grand Lethal 16, coming at you with a couple quick updates. This is the first of two videos I'll be putting out today, Friday night. First of all, Star Ocean 3. So it turns out Square-Enix is re-releasing Star Ocean 3 as an HD remaster on the PS4. Currently, it's only been announced for the PS4, the PS4, but in Japan, which I think is pretty interesting, especially considering that the Star Ocean 3 on the PS2 actually sold better in the US than it did in Japan. It was a notoriously poor sale in Japan considering the expectations. The game wasn't 100% complete, and certain aspects of it didn't work in a number of PlayStation 2s back then. Why is this important? Well, Star Ocean 5, if you remember from last summer, did not do that well, all in all. Actually, I've got some stats here that I'm going to read. I'll start with Star Ocean 1 just to give you a context, so bear with me. So Star Ocean 1 on the SNES sold 235,000 copies in Japan. On the PSP, about 13 years later, it sold 205,000. Star Ocean 2, now this one was the first Star Ocean game to come out in the US, sold 1,090,000 copies worldwide, and that was 700,000 in Japan and 370,000 overseas. The remake sold 143,000, maybe a little bit more than that in Japan. So there was a big, I guess you could say the biggest uptick of sales was from Star Ocean 1 to 2, objectively. Star Ocean 3, the one that is in question because Till the End of Time, I guess, is getting this HD remake. Remaster, I should clarify, remaster. 630,000 copies in the US and only 530,000 copies in Japan approximately. And then Star Ocean 4, remember that was one on the Xbox 360 till it got an international version on the PlayStation 3 some years later. 450,000 copies, and that's cumulative between the original and international version in Japan. And then of course Star Ocean 5, only 175,000 approximate copies sold between the PS3 and PS4 in Japan. So obviously there's been a consistent minor decrease or downtick each time a Star Ocean game comes out. As one of the Tri-Ace/Enix IPs, I've been pretty worried because I'm a big fan of the series. I started with number 2. I love 1 and 2's PSP ports, and I loved 4. 5, I understand why people have issues with, and 3, I'm not honestly that fond. I know a lot of people liked it, but since I'd played games prior to 3, I'm not the biggest fan. The reason, though, that I am happy to see that it's getting a remake is this bodes well. They're obviously going back to a game that sold better in the US and Japan, and they're using the director's cut version that came later on. That was the only version released in the US. They're using that as the basis for the version they're releasing in Japan. So they're putting a lot of effort into getting the right version out and really doing this game right. This could either be a cash grab, which I hope it's not, or it could be their attempts to continue with the Star Ocean legacy. There is a mobile game, which is a accumulation of all the other characters from all the other games. I believe it's called something like Antithesis or something like that. And that is on mobile devices in Japan, but only in Japan. And since then, I mean, there hasn't been anything. Now, if 3 gets a remaster. Sorry, I keep saying remake. You'll know why soon enough. I have something else on my mind to do with Star Ocean. If it gets a remaster on the PS4, then there's a likelihood that it may get remastered in the US. And if there's enough interest from all these different gamers and enough copies get shipped, then this might show that another game will come out, maybe a Star Ocean 6. Granted, 5 has been pretty poor, so I imagine regardless, either 3 remaster or a 6 may be a do or die, kind of like Fire Emblem Awakening, where if it doesn't sell so many copies, that's it for the series, which would be really stressful, really scary, and hopefully not the case. Now, personally for me, I'm thinking that if Star Ocean 3 kicks butt, which I imagine it will if they use that version, what'll happen is they will go on to maybe remaster 1 and 2 again, make like a little duo pack, because those two, especially 2, sold really well on the respective original consoles, and there's a lot of opportunity to get a lot of money really easily. In closing, honestly, I expect that Star Ocean 3 Till the End of Time will sell fairly well. I think it will miss out on a little bit of sales because 5 did fairly poorly all the way across the board so far. You know, if it sells enough, I think it'll come to the US, which will definitely net it the sales because people love Star Ocean 3 in the US. That will see a 6. At worst, you know, I would love to see Star Ocean 1 and 2, the PSP ports, or remake for one anyway. I'd love to see those hit the PlayStation Store, especially after I mentioned that Disgaea is moving from the PS Vita to the Nintendo Switch currently. That's just another thing I'm concerned about. But anyway, hey, what do you think? Are you a big Star Ocean fan? Did you play 5? What did you think of it? And of course, what did you think of Star Ocean 3? And what do you think will be the implications for this series, this historic, long-running JRPG series? Anyway, hit me up in the comments. Let me know. Thanks for watching.